chat on Arts for Life. And before we begin, spend a moment in silence and invoke the presence of the Supreme. Okay, so welcome once again, all of you, to the Arts for Life series, episode 11A. And it's a beautiful art, a very unique art card called the Art of Revealing and Concealing. And we have with us a very dear and senior brother, Brother Ken, who's joining us all the way from Australia. So welcome, Brother Ken. Thank you so much. And a few lines, a few words of introduction for him. Basically, he serves as the sub-regional coordinator of the Latin America regions. Brother Ken was born in Australia, but currently, as we speak, he's been serving in the South America since more than 30 to 40 years now. All of us know him very well, and he's a frequent guest speaker at various conferences and symposia. He basically has been one of the co-creators of the self-management SML course and quality of life program that has been running successfully in almost 29 countries now. And he's also one of the founders of the Oxford Leadership Global Consultancy. He's an avid author. He's written 18 books on leadership and personal and organizational development. Received quite a few awards. To name a few, he was presented with the Personality of the Year award from the Brazilian Association of Training and Development in 2009. And what I must say is dear to us is Brother Ken has this unique ability of making complicated topics very simple. And that's the reason he's with us here, because this art seems very difficult for all of us. How to reveal, what to reveal, how to conceal and what to conceal. So therefore he's with us here. He'll be enlightening us with his words of wisdom. And before I pass it on to him, I'll just request Sister Claudia to do the official welcoming. Over to you. Thank you.
Good morning from Brazil. Good afternoon for many of you, and good evening for many. Welcome, Ken Bai. It's wonderful to have you to talk about this art. I always, when I was in São Paulo, I told everyone there, you don't know how lucky you are to have Ken around. We have you luckily once in a while in our program, but they have you always there. So for us, it's our fortune to be able to hear you today talking about so difficult subject, challenging subject. So that is like Manoj Bhai said, is really your your art. So welcome once more to our program. And
Thanks, Claudia.
I like to Anu offer the flowers from Vancouver.
Yeah,
So
from the
that
whole
way,
team. This is beautiful flowers to welcome you, Brother
Wow,
Ken. Welcome, welcome.
beautiful.
and represent the two colors of Canada,
Yeah, Canada.
white and red.
Mm, wonderful. Thank you all. I'd like to share some thoughts on this topic. Because of the context that we live and work in, practicing meditation and also studying what we call Raja Yoga, I've naturally my perspective will be from that angle. Though in the world, people have difficulty of keeping themselves what they should say, what they should not say in public, or even personally to someone, because you can, through your words, very easily hurt others. You can damage the reputation of others. You can bring someone down, you can humiliate someone in public if you call attention to some defect that he has. And so, in a way, in a worldly sense, you could say that that this art is a mixture between being truthfully tactful, if that's something you can imagine, and benevolently confidential. So when you confide in someone, obviously our first intention will be to be benevolent always. That's what we study here. The word Raj Yoga means royal yoga. So it's not just about being a self-sovereign. It's about developing royalty in your behavior. And so that's part of this art. In fact, it's part of all of the celestial arts. It's all about royalty. So what do you say? What do you don't say? What do you say personally? What do you say in public? And what you don't say? I mean, this is where we're talking about the balance. So when you talk about concealing, you sort of hide, it doesn't really mean to hide things from people, but it means to protect people from things that they may not need to know. In Brazil, people are extremely open, and so they're not tactful at all. They say the most outrageous things and think that it's normal. I was brought up in a culture where people are very reserved and they sort of hold on to things without saying what they say. Because being from Australia, I was brought up in a British culture, basically. And so people, you never know what people are thinking. Whereas in Brazil, you always know what people are thinking because they don't have any shyness to let out what they think. And this is on one side. It's hurtful and harmful, and on the other side, it's also very refreshing sometimes to know what's going on. So my first, I'm going to talk a little bit about the concealing part of it, because if I'm truly introspective, which is, of course, what we study as meditators, we try to be as introspective as we can because we try to see what we have to change in ourselves before we look at trying to change others. You could say that extroversion is when we're just looking at others and we're looking at the outside world and what's going on and what people are doing and we very rarely look at ourselves. But if you're too introspective, you miss things as well. But if I'm looking at introspection as a way to develop self-respect rather than to hide and run away from things, my introspection should be angled towards self-development rather than running away. And it's also people who live inside their own heads. They're sort of very, very difficult in their social connections. So we have to be balanced. So first of all, my introspection should be angled towards self-respect. And also it should be encased within pure intentions. And it's really, we use the word yukti. Yukti means a wise method, you could say, a wise method. So concealing what I need to conceal and revealing what I need to reveal is an extremely wise method. On the other side, we are actually part of what we do in Brahma Kumaris. We've been entrusted with a message which we have to reveal to the world. So I have to protect myself and protect others as much as possible. And at the same time, I do have a vocation of revealing to the world what I know. So if I know something extremely valuable, for example, through Raj Yoga, I've come to know about what the soul is and how the soul is and who I really am. I've come to know about what's happening in the world and why it's happening and what's going to come. I come to know about the worlds beyond here, the soul world, and the supreme abode, I've come to know about God and his importance in our lives. So these are this is very valuable information that I need to share. So revealing means sharing benefit, and also concealing is about retaining a benevolent attitude, because sometimes it's worth considering let's say somebody has some really important information, yet it could hurt people. I have to be extremely tactful about how I manage that and who I need to talk to, who I need to inform. I don't need to inform everyone, but I do need to inform the people who matter. So if I put both concealing and revealing within the context of working towards upliftment, it's not about performance, it's about uplifting people. And in a way, it's a balance between knowledge and yoga, or the remembrance, and it's balance between inculcation, which is the dharana, and the service. So you can see dharana is more introspective and self-development. Service is spreading the message, helping people to uplift them. So in the world, I think some things it's good to keep them as a mystery. I've realized that if people know everything, they become less curious. So it's good to keep some things mysterious. And even Brahma Kumaris, the way that the knowledge was taught to us over the years, would be the Supreme Father using the physical instrument of Prajapita Brahma. He didn't tell everything on the first day. Little by little, he was revealing things, and at the same time, he's revealing part of something. He was concealing the rest of it, because he was telling us things we needed to know. And we think God knows everything, which is not exactly true. If you were able to have an interview with God and you ask him what is the basis of quantum physics, he would look at you and say, "What are you talking about? This is something I don't need to know. You human beings probably need to know about it because you have to make it work. But what is the absolute secret between why atoms behave the way they are? He doesn't know." So I've come to understand that God knows what he needs to know, and not more and not less. And he teaches us little by little. You don't need to know how many insects are there in the world. Do you really need to know something like that? You need to know about, if you ask God, is there life on other planets? He will probably look at you and say, for all you're concerned with, this is the only place. You don't need to know about the rest of the universe. It doesn't change anything. And so he tells us what we need to know, and we tell ourselves what we need to know also. Then we learn that silence, for example, you could say that when you're trying to hide something, you're trying to be quiet about it. But in fact, real silence is not emptiness. It's about the fullness. It's about true power is actually silent. Think about it. Real power, real spiritual power doesn't make any noise. It's silent. It's the soul in the remembrance of the Supreme. It's radiating more through vibrations than through explanation. So you see the balance between what you conceal or what you don't show and what you do show. So if you have no vibration internally that you're sort of protecting, what can you explain anyway? It's not that we have to explain everything all at once. But if I remain inwardly connected, I can create a sort of gentle mystery that will attract souls without any external show. For example, in Amrit Vela, which is the beginning meditation of the day, what we do in Brahma Kumara is we sit in soul consciousness, we connect with the Supreme, but we're not trying to produce an experience. We're not trying to manifest anything. We're actually allowing the peace to do its work. It's that we're allowing the silence to do its work. So even in that, I'm not explaining, like thinking. Meditation, people think is just organizing your thinking, but actually it's reducing the quantity of your thinking and improving the quality of your thinking. It's not just organizing the thoughts. So I can go into an inner state and allow the soul consciousness and allow the connection with the Supreme to create my experience without me explaining to myself even. And we notice, for example, a balance between concealing and revealing is when we're giving some talk, that definitely we have to speak less and pause more. So you see, speaking would be revealing and pausing is concealing. So if I say sort of something impactful, I should, pause, let the realization sink in, let that do more than me continuing to what do you say? I'm trying to think of a word. Gabble on, speaking doesn't mean that I'm explaining properly. I should have a proper balance between explaining and pausing. In fact, a few years ago, together with the teams here, we developed the Raj Yoga course for adults, using the principles of what is called androgogy. You've got the pedagogy, which is like for kids, but the way that we normally give classes and talk is as if we're talking to a bunch of kids, which is not true. Adults need to reflect. They need to talk about things. They need to see the relevance. And so we organized the basic course, the introductory course of meditation, around the principles of explaining, which will be revealing, experiencing, which will be going inside, and exploring, the 3 E's: explaining, experiencing, and exploring. So exploring the relevance of this. So each of the lessons we divided into 3 main points, not more than that. The 3 main basic points about the spiritual experience, let's say the soul. What does the soul? They need to have the experience of being soul conscious. They need to know how the soul and the body are connected, and they need to know how to, how to bring out the best qualities from within themselves. Let's say they're the 3 things. So the first step will be to explain, and this was the challenge we gave to the teachers. You have 5 minutes to explain each of those three concepts. So explain in 5 minutes. You experience for 5 minutes. That means pausing and going into the depth of that idea, and then exploring the relevance of it together with them. So 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. So there are 3 concepts. So 3 times 5 is 15, and 3 times 15 is 45 minutes. So in 45 minutes, you can adequately deal with the basic concepts of that lesson of the introductory course. And then there are another 15 minutes to start with silence and finish with silence. Anything else, any questions, that's it. So definitely we've been able to improve not only the quality of our teaching, but the quality of the people that come. They have better experiences. So it's not someone in the front just going on and on and on, blah, 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 and then suddenly at the end realizing that they haven't had enough time for meditation. Oh, wait a minute, let's meditate. But in fact, the people are coming for a meditation course. So what do I explain? How do I explain it? And it's very interesting to understand that as well, because some people are, let's say, they are visual, so they want images, but some people are more auditive, means that they like to listen to stories. Some people are more tactile, so they need something that they can play with, some physical exercise. And some people have the balance of the three, so that if you are delivering a talk, it makes sense that you take into account the type of people that are in front of you. That's a whole art of balancing what you say and what you don't say, what you need to say and what you don't need to say, or rather revealing and concealing. And at the same time, if you are talking to others, there are a few other factors that you have to take into account. If I said before that it's a sort of tactful benevolence, benevolently tactful. So I'm aware of how people are and how they're, if they're engaged. If you're talking to someone, you have to watch the body language. Otherwise, you'll be going on and on. You're thinking you're saying something marvelous. The other person is not listening at all. And so some of the time, this is another concept, some of the time you are conducting, means conducting, you are organizing, and but at the same time you're working with what is called deduction. So it's conducting, and then you're working with deducting as well. It means you're helping people to come to their own conclusions rather than giving them everything. There's an expression in English which is really good. If you just feed pre-digested ideas to people, like the food that old people eat that has nothing that you can put your teeth into, you just give them that sort of information, completely pre-digested. The only thing that people learn is the shape of the spoon. So that's a very interesting idea. So you're working with, you conduct, but at the same time you're helping them to deduct. And then there's another, the third thing, which is called induction, which means leading people to an experience. So those three things, if you are helping people through things, they can stop. You can when you stop and you pause here and there, you're actually taking into account whether people are paying attention to you. And that's also true. You start any meeting. You start with a meeting with silence. The first thing you do when you sit in front of a group of people, you just spend some time in silence. What are you doing? You just take into account the vibration. And then that automatically informs you about what you can talk about and what you don't need to talk about. Sometimes it's extremely obvious. Once I was in Soweto in South Africa with a group of policemen, and they asked me to talk about motivation. Now, when I arrived there, I saw everyone was so sad. There was a very heavy vibration in the air, and I asked the captain of the police, that particular section, what happened. He said, one of our colleagues just was murdered, has just been murdered. And there I am to talk about motivation. I thought, no, I'm not going to talk about motivation, not correct. So I just shared with them about life and death. So you're taking the silence helps you to get an idea of who's in front of you, even if it's just one individual. You go inside, I mean, you go into silence, you become soul conscious, and you realize that you're talking to a brother soul in front of you. It's not, the roles go away. It's not the boss with the subordinates. It's not the colleagues at work. It's not the friend of the friend. It's not the family member with another family member. It's a soul with another soul. So in that silence, I am the point of light. I'm the child of the ocean of peace, and let my presence do the work first. Let my vibration create an atmosphere in which I can reveal what I want to reveal. So, and even if I look at the way that this works, and since I'm in a place which is a retreat center, people are always coming through. I often talk to people who are going through their stuff. And again, what I do is I invite people to stay in silence, even if okay, I want to talk to you. Okay, let's sit in silence for a few moments first. And that way, that anxiousness to talk about something goes down a little bit. If we are anxious, we normally speak more than we need to. If we are calm, we speak less, and we speak the right words and not just a lot of words. I let my virtues reveal me, let my vibration reveal who I am, and let the vibration that I'm creating help people to be more authentic. And so I create an atmosphere of lightness. And rather than just immediately going into storytelling, right? Listening to stories or talking. And this is a thing where we notice if someone comes with a huge problem, and you've got to pick up the vibe, first of all. And the worst thing you can do is to say something like, oh, yes, I've heard you. I once had a problem similar to that. And so you start to share your own story and you move away from the story of the other person. It's not appropriate. Let me listen. And to listen is very interesting that the Chinese were a character for active listening is very interesting. There are several parts to the character, actually 5 or 6 parts. One of them is a sort of a line which indicates me and you. One of the parts indicates a king, so the person that I have to put that person high up in my opinion. I won't judge them. Part of that character is eyes, and part of it is ears, and the last part is heart. So you've got eyes, ears, heart, line meaning the connection, and that person is a king. So let me listen to the person in front of me as if they're a king with full eyes, full ears, and full heart. That's what active listening is in the Chinese characters. Isn't that beautiful? And I cannot do that if I'm very noisy internally. So when a new student comes along and asks deep questions about karma, I can offer some simple knowledge about the soul, about the God, about the fact that we're involved in this incredible drama, this big play in which everyone has a part. And then I can start to gradually introduce subtleties about, say, sanskars, which are our impressions, and karmic accounts and all that. If you're in a situation where your family are at work and you need to, let's say, come to a decision, the first thing you have to do is to create the stage, create the goodwill, create stable vibrations, and then start to disclose facts. So you work on what's invisible first, so that then you can make more visible what you need to. So in a way, concealing and revealing is that. Work on the invisible and then work on the visible that is sort of created out of the invisible. If you're, doing a public talk, and I mean, I'm just sharing my own experiences. So often I've just sat down and meditated. That helped me to work out the context of where I was and what to do and what to say. And it really works. I had to give a talk at I had a keynote speech at an international congress on human resources in Mexico. And when I arrived there, it was huge. The auditorium was huge, and there were actually 3,000 people there, and they were all human resources managers from all over the place, all over the world, actually. And I said, I spoke. The president of the Mexican Association had received me, and we were chatting away, and he was showing me how things were. And so the first thing I had to do was like get an idea of the place, and then I always like to arrive beforehand. So I was sitting there, and the seats were filling up, and I was catching the vibration. But the thing is, he'd asked me not only to give the keynote speech, but he wanted me to do a workshop with the people. And I said, okay, where's the workshop room? Because generally you go to these congresses, there are the main event, and then there are all these breakout workshops. I said, how many people in the workshop? He said, no, the workshop's going to be in this auditorium. But how many people? He said, the same people in the plenary. And how can you do a workshop with 3,000 people? An hour and a half workshop with 3,000 people. I thought, oh, this is a huge challenge. So what I did was I went to the side. Okay, let's see. I went to the side. I sat in silence. And again, I got in touch with this. I was working on my intuition. How can I handle this? And what came to my mind was a painting that we have in our meditation center in Sao Paulo, which is a painting of Krishna dancing with lots of gopis and gopes. No, gopis actually, the sort of the young women who were surrounding him, in the myths, and there he is, Krishna dancing with about 10 different people at the same time. So there were 10 Krishnas. Each one was dancing with one woman, a special dance. And it's a sort of a symbol of joy, basically. So that image came to my mind while I was in silence. I said, okay, that's interesting. Let me then interact with people in such a way that everyone gets happy. And I just thought of a few points that I could work on, and that was it, and it worked out really well. The president became so amazed. But how did you do that? And I said, well, I meditate. So in silence, we can build an experience. And then after the hearts are softened enough, we can reveal the essential points. I mean, these are just a few things. Another thing, too, is if I look at the balance between revealing and concealing, there's also the aspect of patience. Because if I'm impatient, I will reveal things that I don't need to say. I've got some very sort of spicy information. Let me add this. But if I'm patient, I become in tune with the needs of the other person. Impatience when I'm just in tune with my own needs. I need to get this out. I need to say these things. I need to reveal this. And that's where the royalty that we need comes in, because someone who doesn't control his tongue and says things that they don't need to say in public, they just create a lot of disappointment and sort of bad vibration, you could say. So the balance between what I conceal and what I show is sort of a balance between truth and humility, clarity and the spiritual way to behave. Because if I light a light that blinds, it doesn't guide. A soft light is enough. This is probably a good metaphor. If I light a light that's so bright that people can't even see, that's not the right thing. This information is so important for you. You'll like it. You need to know this and this and this and this and this, and the people get lost. But let me show a little bit. Let me show a softer light, and then that can guide people rather than a bright one. And on the other side, too much concealment can make me feel cold or secretive, as well as too much revelation can waste spiritual power. So balance is to be honest, yes, to be benevolent, and a good word, to be restrained. Only sharing what uplifts people and holding back from what distracts people or inflates the ego. So if I'm sharing experiences, let me offer the essence, which is basically the lesson of what I'm saying, plus some virtue, rather than dramatic details. Let me focus on the soul. Let me focus on the supreme. Let me focus on the fact that we're in a play in 3 dimensions, with each one playing their role. And let me not focus on personality. If it's a question of leadership, let's say, let me share about the why and the what, but not about every internal consideration. You know, how I got to these conclusions was a lot of internal conversation I'm not going to talk about. Because the real meaning of concealing is to protect unity and dignity. So I can give a clear map, but I can also keep space for each soul's personal realization. So a quick check. I remember the story of Socrates. Someone came up to him and started telling a story about some problem that they were going through. And Socrates stopped him and said, wait a minute, before you start, I want to ask you a few questions. Is what you're going to tell me true? And the person said, I don't really know. I heard that it was like this, and I think you need to know. But is it true? I don't know. Second question, is it benevolent? Is it useful? And the person said, well, I don't know how useful it is, but you need to know it. And the third question is that he asked, is it necessary for me to know? Is it true? Is it benevolent? Is it necessary for me to know? And the person said, I don't know if you need to know it. So If what you're going to say is not true, it's not benevolent, and it's not necessary for me to know, why will you tell me? So the person just shut up. So it's an interesting thing to check. Check what I'm holding in my mind. Is it true? If it's not true, why do I hold it in my mind? If I hold it in my mind, it's going to come out of my mouth. Is it benevolent? If it's not benevolent, well, it's sort of creating problem internally. But is it necessary for me to know this? No, so forget it. Either I refine what I'm thinking about or refrain from thinking about it. And I think lastly, before we stop to ask some questions, we can look at concealing as protection. As I said before, it's sort of self-respect, purity, trust. So privacy is not lying necessarily, could be. I'm just holding a lie inside of me because I can't tell people that such a horrible thing. But real privacy is not hiding. It's honoring what's sacred. So just think about that, honoring what is sacred. So concealing sometimes is a sort of a spiritual hygiene, because it protects the self and others. And revealing selectively, of course, as we were talking about, is about empowerment and not exposure. So these are just a few thoughts. I mean, it's not a final word on this topic. Probably we could go on for hours talking about all of the ins and outs of that. But since concealing and revealing is about speaking less and making more sense, I think I can stop here.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. I was just reminiscing these two things which you rightly said. You started with being truthfully tactful and benevolently confidential. So that's the beautiful balance which we need to strike for revealing and concealing. And you ended with this, that concealing is all about protecting the self and a spiritual hygiene which I have to maintain. And revealing is about empowerment rather than exposure. So fantastic, very deep concepts you have shared. Now, let me just ask you a few questions related to information overload. So we are in the age where people are just browsing all the time, n number of things. They're taking in information, and therefore it's called information, not knowledge and wisdom. So much of information going inside the human brain, and my mind is affected. So how do we protect the Gen Z particularly from going in this information overload and getting ill, mentally ill because of that?
I think the first thing you need to know is what you want. What sort of a life do you want to lead? If you don't know what you want, you don't know what you do either. You won't know what you're doing. So you have to have some sense of purpose, which is positive. My life is to help understand. My life is for helping people to understand the difficulties that they face, or my life is to help young people overcome their insecurity. My life has some purpose. So if I know what my life is for, I will also know what my life is not for. So why would I fill my mind with things which are, because social media is just full of opinions, basically. How much of it is fact? People say something and it spreads throughout. Fake news spreads much faster than truth. And one of the reasons is that because of the availability of information, the news services are not able to invest in investigation. So there's not enough time to investigate the truth of something before the fake news is already circulating. So, you know, you can take it for sure that most of the things that you're seeing This week someone said to me, "You can't eat this because I saw on YouTube this and this and this." Then I, just out of curiosity, I just looked at, okay, other YouTubers saying the opposite. So there are just as many people saying that you shouldn't eat something as they say that you should. They freedom coffees. So many people say coffee is bad here. Then there are so many people say that no, it helps the circulation. It's good. But you just have to take it. What do I need to know? And that those three questions: is it true? Is it benevolent? Do I need to know this? Then I can start to use my discrimination power better. If I don't have, like, the symbol of judging is a balance, right? So you've got two plates, and then you've got here in the middle a fulcrum, what they call it, sort of a triangular thing which the plates rest on. This fulcrum is more important than what's on the plates because it has to be sharp, has to be correct. So where am I sitting? I'm just shifting things around in my consciousness, changing things from one plate to the other, or do I have the power of discerning really? Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it benevolent? Those three things can help us sort out the stuff that's circulating. But that I'll only do that if I'm keen on improving myself. If I don't care, I shouldn't worry because my head will be full of nonsense anyway.
Right. So, coming to the question of worry, nowadays many people are worried about artificial intelligence taking over their jobs. So, do you want to tell us that rather than developing artificial intelligence, how do I develop my atmic intelligence?
Well, the thing is that, like anything, when they developed the military developed GPS, the Global Positioning System, which we all use in our cars these days to find out where to go or how to get to a place. So GPS was originally for how to locate the enemy and send a bomb. But then little by little became useful for people. In the same way, any technology is either harmful or beneficial depending on how you use it. Now, it's true that some jobs are at risk, for sure. You can get a language tutor much better than a human one to teach you how to pronounce Spanish better, for example. You can have a conversation with an AI tutor, much better, and it's cheaper even than a human being. So there are some professions which are at risk, but in the same way, when computers came around, people were already afraid of that. When automation became a reality in the factories, people were worried about the same thing. But in fact, there's just been diversity and change as time has gone on. Now, personally, I have to engage with artificial intelligence in a positive way. I can use it for positive things. I remember, I'll give an example. A few months ago, I was in New York at the headquarters of Cisco. Cisco is a computer systems organization. In fact, they have something called, like Zoom, called WebEx. That's from Cisco. So I was there at the headquarters, and the topic was spiritual intelligence versus artificial intelligence. And I said basically what I'm saying now. It depends on you. You can use whatever technology you have for the benefit of people or for their detriment. So, and then somebody said, yeah, but one of the women there, she said, yes, I used artificial intelligence to get the profile, I've been having a lot of problems with my husband. So I went to artificial intelligence and I found that I really could understand exactly, because of the questions that I asked, I could understand his psychological profile perfectly. And then I asked her, but have you had the conversation with him yet? She said no. It's not artificial intelligence will never help us to have the proper conversations we need to have. So there are things that it can do, there are things that it can't do. So in the same way, we will just adjust ourselves as time goes forward.
Right. So we need to adapt to technology, and it's always there. Every few years, something or the other keeps coming up. Okay, there's another very simple question, but I think it's a powerful one. So the sister is asking, what would you say about a white lie as a method of concealment?
A white lie.
Mm.
Oh, sometimes I think it's useful. I mean, white lie is not a complete, absolute, terrible lie. It just means that you've made it more soft, the situation. But apparently people lie 30, 40 times a day, so what's actually a white lie these days? But it means that if it's a means of creating long-term benefit, I'll give you an example. In the case of someone who has a very serious disease because the doctor told you apart that probably you're going to die, but you know that person can't handle, they can't emotionally handle the reality of dying. So you give them encouragement rather than say you're going to die next week. You give them encouragement. Encouragement is a white lie in this case. So in some cases it's very useful. In some cases it's on the borderline with an outright lie. If you have a secret and that secret would completely alter the way that people engage with you, it's neither beneficial for you nor for them. Because if they knew that secret, they would never deal with you in the way, or they will never put you on a pedestal or whatever. If you have a secret about your private behavior, someone who's actually married and is developing a relationship with someone and pretending that they're not married, that's not a white lie. That's not the real meaning of the art of concealing either. It's just lying, basically. So lying is to say something which is not true. And lying is also to not say something which is true. So these are borderline situations. Okay?
So beautiful answer you gave about we have to do that in the medical profession day in and out, where we have to really not tell them about the grave consequences if someone is really on the deathbed. So that's a white lie, and that is for benefit of the family members. In the interest of time, I'll just take this last question. So this sister is saying, I deal with people who want to be heard or listened to, but many are reckless and tactless in doing so. So how do I help them and also maintain my balance?
If you have to deal with people, um, you should set the guidelines for the engagement. You should look. These are the way I'm in this situation to listen to you and all. But these are the principles that we should work with if we're going to talk with each other. If you can do that, it's better than to just leave it to supposition. If that is part of your work, for example, or part of your family life, you should lay down the rules of engagement in a nice way. But if you're gonna, and you have to say it straight off. Listen, if you're gonna talk to me, let's make one thing clear. I will be completely sincere with you. if you can be sincere with me, whatever the rule of engagement is, but you should set them down before you start to engage. Otherwise, it's very, if you create a habitual interaction which is not very positive, it's very hard to change.
Right. So we just lay down the rules of the game before
Yeah.
we enter the game. Okay. Fantastic. So thank you so much for patiently answering all the questions. And really, it was a insightful experience to go on this journey of what and how to reveal and also to conceal. So thank you so much. And I'll invite now Sister Claudia to propose the vote of thanks. Over to you, Sister Claudia. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ken. You know, I was just, when I was listening, I was thinking maybe that is the main thing and where there is so much conflict between people, because they think they know what they are saying, but they don't check, they don't stop to check. Do I need to talk about this or not, especially in front of others? So it's kind of a nice when you put those three. Is that truth? Is benevolent? Do I need to talk in front of others? So when we have, especially when we have some meetings or someone, or we are meeting someone, we really need to bring those up in our mind. I think, I'm not sure, but the way how I saw when you were talking, I think that is the main reason for conflict between souls. I don't know what you think about that, but
It
I
definitely
could.
creates conflict. We say the wrong things in the wrong place at the wrong time to the wrong people.
Yeah,
We say
it's
that we
very.
say the right things to we say the right things to the wrong people also.
Mm. So thank you so much for revealing that for us. And then we have to really see that we can always do the best that we can do. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Sister Claudia. And many people are asking for the recordings. The number of people have been increasing since we have started today itself. So because it was a deep topic. So we'll be sharing the links again on our website. Sister Anu will do the announcements. You will get all of them over there. So I'll request Sister Anu to go ahead with the announcements. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Brother Ken. Knowing what to say and keeping the balance between both the arts, keeping benefit for all in mind. So I'm sure everyone wants to revisit and really go deeper and understand. So you can get the videos. Let me just quickly do the announcement. So the next session will be episode 11B on the inner reflections on the same topic, the art of revealing and counseling, with Sister Judy Johnson. So he also will take up the discussions that was done today from Brother Ken and the book. So please join us then. It is 27th December, Saturday, same time. And continuingly, we do the workshop. So where we can go more in discussion to understand with us. So join us then. That is Saturday, 3rd of January. And this is our calendar. So that talks about the upcoming programs. And this is the information. So our email IDs and our website, vihasa.in and vancouver.brahmakumaris.ca. You can visit us there. All the videos you will find there in all the languages, as well as these are the playlists for the all the sessions that have been happening and including today's. As you can see for English and Hindi, you can take a screenshot if you want or write us for more information. Thank you everyone. And I think before we go, that Brother Ken can take us on a meditation experience. We can take a photograph that everybody likes to memorize this moment, make it a memorial. So open your video if you like to win the photograph. Anyone else would like to still open their video? Just 1, 2, 3 seconds.
All are requested to reveal themselves, not to be concealed.
Very good.
Okay, so I got of the photo. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister. And over to the closing meditation now. We request all of you all to keep your videos on. It will be good to take Brother Ken's powerful drishti as well. Over to you, brother. Thanks.
Om Shanti, everyone. What we can do is just sit nicely wherever you are. Just make sure that you are in a balance between what's happening outside of you, wherever you are, and what's happening inside you. So the sounds of the room and the scenes around you, and internally how you're feeling and what you are thinking. You with yourself, in other words. So I'm just this point of consciousness. I'm aware of the world around me, but I'm also aware of what's going on inside me. So I sit, let's say, between these two worlds, my inner world, my outer world. And I feel very peaceful. There's nothing urgent, there's nothing rushing, there's nothing pushing or pulling me. I just feel very calm. And I see myself that this is actually my natural state. I'm naturally peaceful. I'm naturally calm and naturally disposed to be loving. And the reason for that is that I'm connected with the source, the one we call God or Allah or Jehovah or so many names. That one is the ocean of those qualities. And I'm connected. I'm the child. I'm the creation of that one. So naturally, I would, in my natural state, I would have those same qualities. So just remember. Meditation is about remembering rather than anything else. Just remember that I'm this peaceful soul. I'm this loving soul. I'm this child of the Supreme. And that's the connection that holds me, keeps me stable and strong. The world around me is changing so much, but I'm still and stable. I can see myself as a tiny point of light, radiating light, shining in the middle of the forehead like a little lighthouse. And I can enjoy just being that. Stay in that state for a few moments. Then come back to your surroundings. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you so much, Brother Ken, for your valuable time and also for your words of wisdom and taking us through the journey of revealing and concealing. Thank you once again.
Okay, Om Shanti. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. See you next week. Thank you. Thank you so much, brother.